somebody, I've been spewing for, 2 years plus that I want to get a CB radio someday. I'm saving my money and so on and so forth. And so somebody says, oh, I got an old CB, like I told you. And then they go, oh, yeah? And he goes, yeah, you can have this. I said, really? I can have that? Now, it wasn't anything like that Johnson 23 channel. It was just an ABCD. I said, well, what the hell is this, right? Some little tiny box with ABC on it. It had the channels on the back written down on like a sticky back, And the microphone came out the side. It wasn't even plugged in. It was hardwired in with a string relief coming out of the side of this little tiny box, right? So I said, well, what the hell? Okay. And then a couple wires come out the back for positive and negative. I didn't know what to do with that at the moment. But so then somebody said, well, you need to have a power supply, like you have to run a battery or a power supply at least 12 volts or so to run this thing. And so somebody else said, well, here's a little power supply, a little 3 amp power supply. I said, oh, okay, all right. And just put the positive and negative right here, and I'll turn it on. But you don't want to key the mic until you get an antenna. So now I didn't have an antenna, and so he goes, another friend of mine said, well, I have an antenna. Oh, you need an antenna? Oh, I got an antenna for you. Here's my little boat antenna. I said, oh, you have an antenna from a boat? I said, okay, check it out. It was like almost like a little tiny fire stick type thing, a little one that went on a boat. But I didn't know about SWR or anything. I didn't know nothing about it. Just had a white cord coming off of it. It was hard, wired into the antenna. Came out the side of it on a string relief, but it had a PO259 on it. I didn't know what a PO259 was, but it was the same hook that hooks up in the back of the radio. So I put all that stuff together and put the antenna on the old horse corral out there and brought it into my little room. And I turned it on, and sure enough, there's some people talking on the thing. I was able to talk on it for a little bit. I saved my people out money and my working, doing my people out and working at the donut shop. Finally got enough money to get my 23-channel Pace, Crystal 23-channel AM Pace radio. Went to the CB shop with my money. I was able to have enough money to buy one, and it was brand new. And they made me fill out paperwork for the FCC with my name, my address, first and last name, my phone number, and everything. So it had to be paid back in the day, because if you talked on that radio and you were bothering anybody, especially if you got an amplifier later down the road, which I did way later, a few years later, and then you start destroying the telephone lines and the TV, analog and what have you. And now we don't do anything like that. But anyway, that's the big story. And I ran with it ever
Good
since.
story.
I've been on it ever since 1970. Just gun-ho, never quit, 24/7. Anytime I get on the radio, I put the hammer down. Now that is probably one of the longest key-ups you'll ever hear right there, right now.
I love it, Henry. That is a good story, man. That is absolutely awesome. And you got a good memory, too, because it's your passion. I'm 61 here. 61, so you say 1965. Well, I was born in March 64. And, my first taste of it was my dad came home from, I think it was Kmart. He bought a CB radio receiver, a 23 channel, and had a little antenna on the back, 23 channels on it, and had batteries in it, and we had it on the kitchen table, and I was listening to all this Skip coming in. I didn't even know what Skip was, and we were listening to these guys talk from all over the U.S., and I said, man, it'd be so cool if I could talk to those guys. So it wasn't until 77. I mean, I was listening to this thing every day, Skip coming in. And finally, in 77, they went in to Radio Shack with me and bought me a TRC 452 radio when I was 13. So that's how mine started, and it's been ever since. And I think that's really cool. That is a great, great story. You've been into it a very long time. Mine will be 49 years next year, 1977. So I know a lot of friends were into it and they got out of it. And a lot of these kids nowadays can't be bothered because they got their cell phones and their computers. And I've talked to them before, younger kids, about it. And because one of them, I was in the parking lot one day talking on my two-way radio, and some kid happened to walk by, a teenager, and he says, "What is that?" And I says, "It's a two-way radio." And he says, "Why would you want to talk on that when you can just phone on your cell phone?" And you know what I said? I said, "It's not the same, man. It's completely different when you're talking on a two-way radio." So sometimes a little bit more of a challenge, but with you and I talking here, I don't know, man, we got a pipeline going. You're just freaking blasting in 20 over all the way. You got a great station. And I don't want to tie it up too much longer because I do have to go and get some lunch now. It's sitting around 12 noon. We're the same time zone as you. We're 12 p.m. here, right on the money. And I think we've been talking for probably about 40 minutes, I bet, huh, Henry?
I have to say so, Joe. Yeah, absolutely. Probably one of the best QSOs that we can hold out. I got to tell you there, Joe, it's great to hook up with you, brother. I mean, there's not too many people that can look back and talk about stuff like you and I did, some of the old stuff that we both see eye to eye with a lot of the older gear, which I really enjoy, this older gear. The through-hole heavy-duty components with the heavy-duty traces on the PCB, with heavy-duty wiring and so on and so forth. Hell, I don't even mind the click-clack relays. I have that in my Navajo. But, that last big old Kia that I did is one of the longer Kias because I told you that particular story. There's many, many other stories to tell you about, but that's just one of many. And that little Kia, right after I unkeyed, I hurried up and reached down and touched my heatsink on my amplifier, and it absolutely is lukewarm. I mean, it's just amazing if you can get a low SWR like I have, which is barely even a 1.1 at full tilt boogie, and with all the fanning, and the SWR combination, my God, you could keep the damn thing up all day. It's probably what they do in the commercial, AM, FM broadcasting, fan the hell out of everything, have everything tuned right, all the antennas, because they keep that stuff up all day long. So I get what they're doing, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, man. No, you're doing the right thing. And like I say, your equipment you've been using for a long time. Same with mine. My old TRC 458, 452, still working from nearly 5 decades. So, hey, we're doing something right, brother. We're doing something right. And I really appreciate it. I do enjoy this QSO. It's been a great QSO with you. And I hope we get some more north to south skip sooner than later. So we can definitely hook up again here and do some chatting. I got lots of hobbies up here. This is just one of many hobbies. I ride motorcycles. I grow tropical plants here. Our garden is full of palm trees and exotic plants here on this island. So that's another thing we'll talk about sometime because I like to garden. I was a Parks Department gardener for many years here and I retired. And I took on a part-time retirement job Tuesday to Thursday, just a 6-hour shift each day, done at 10:30 in the morning. I start early. I look after a huge commercial landscape in town, irrigation, plantings and trimming and all that stuff. So, but you'll see our garden here if you watch my video YouTube channel. You'll see what I'm talking about. It looks like we're probably about 1,500 miles north of where we should be here. Our garden is kind of overflowing with palm trees and exotic plants. It's the only place in Canada you can get away with it here because our winters are mild and wet. We got that Pacific Ocean around us to kind of regulate those air temperatures. So there's never really any extremes here and everything does really, really well. It's a very, very green island year-round, QSL.
Thank you for all that there, Joe. Yeah, you and I got a lot of things in common, brother. I took horticulture in school. I've always been a plant guy, trees and plants. I love fruit trees, any kind of beautiful plants, palms, anything. I took horticulture in school. But one of the things, I'm retired. I am a retired motorcycle mechanic. I had a motorcycle shop for 48 years. And, well, actually more than that. 50-something, 53, 54 years. I've been working on motorcycles. I used to work for Suzuki Santa Barbara in 1977, but I had a shop before that, and I still did. And my grandma's, I had a little garage that I had.
My dad had a shop too.
And I worked on people used to pull up their stuff up to the hill where I lived, and I used to work on their motorcycles. And I worked for Suzuki Santa Barbara. I worked for a Kawasaki racing team, motocross. I've done a lot of off-roading, on-roading. Many motorcycles. I still do have one. I got rid of all my big bikes, and now I got a 2009 cherried out, like brand new, tricked out, strictly modified. You couldn't tell unless I pointed out what it is. It's a fisherman. I go fishing for tuna in the end of the summer, and also on the kelp beds for calico bass, white sea bass, halibut, rockfish, red snapper, many hobbies, man. Remote control gliders, off the cliffs. Have 7 of those different kinds for different things. Thermal gliders and combat gliders and ridge runners. And my God, I mean, inline skating. I played professional racquetball for years. Taught racquetball professionally. There's so many things, man. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But I had to let go. I had to let go of a few of the hobbies now. And I've always had this one hobby here. And on a rainy day schedule like it is today, we enjoy getting on the radio and put the hammer down. But I was going to say one thing before we go. And I know you got to go because you got to get a little something to eat there. But I was just wondering, I do have some pictures. I have